Assalamu alaikum students. So today we will discuss the general anatomy of the bone, and in this lecture we will discuss the in this lecture we will learn about the definition of the bone, the functions, the types of the bones, the structure of the bone, structure of a long bone and structure of a short bone, and the microscopic. So these were the macroscopic structure and this is the microscopic structure. And in microscopic structure we will see the types of bones of the cells and the types of bony tissue. So also we will discuss the development of bone tissue, and in this we will discuss the development of long bones and also the bone markings and terminology. Now bone is a mineralized dense connective tissue. So bone is a type of dense connective tissue which is mineralized, and it is made up of few cells in a mineralized matrix, and it consists of about 30 to 40% of our body weight. And bone is a dynamic structure. What do you mean by this dynamic structure? That a continuous change is occurring in the structure of the bone. Not the bone is moving, rather the structure of the bone is dynamic because the changes continuously. Bone cells are forming and the bone removing cells are continuously removing the parts of the bone. So continuous process of remodeling is occurring in the inside the bone. So that's why it is dynamic in nature. The types of bones. The types of bones are classified as long bones, short bones, flat bones, irregular bones, sesamoid bones, and the pneumatic bones. So the long bones, these consist of a shaft and two extremities. So here you can see this is the type of the long bone, and it has got two extremities, two ends, and a shaft. So this type of bone is known as long bone, and they are longer than wider. Of course, you can see here, and the examples include the femur, the tibia, the fibula. This is in the lower limb. Here you can see this is the femur, the tibia, and the fibula. And in upper limb, the humerus, the ulna, and the radius. So these are all types of long bones. Then comes the short bones. So short bones are the bones which are present in our wrist, the carpal bones. Example is the carpal bone, or the present in the foot, the tarsal bones. Now here you can see these are short ones. They do not have a shaft or ends. Then the irregular bone. So these bones are shaped irregularly, and example is vertebrae and some skull bones. So irregular bones. Flat bones include the sternum, the ribs, and most bones of the skull. So these are included in the flat bone. Here you can see this is the part of the this bone is part of the skull, and it includes in the example of the flat bone, and also the ribs and sternum are also included in the example of flat bones. Now comes the sesamoid bones. So now these are the bones which develop after birth in the tendons due to repeated flexion. So best example of sesamoid bone, and the biggest bone, sesamoid bone in the body, is the patella, that is the kneecap present in the knee joint. There are other sesamoid bones
For example, specific bone in the carpal bones is an also example of the is another example of the sesamoid bone. So then comes the pneumatic bones. Now these bones are not mentioned in your textbooks, but these bones are the bones which have got air in them, air spaces in them, and these are the bones which contain the air sinuses, and these are present in the skull. And four bones in the skull are known as the pneumatic bones: the frontal bone, the ethmoid bone, the sphenoid bone, and the maxilla. Before going to the structure of the long bones and the short bones and the flat bones, the microscopic structure of the bone, as you know, is the special type of connective tissue. So it is composed of cells and the matrix. So cells and the extracellular matrix. Now the bone is a strong and durable type of connective tissue, and its major constituent is a mixture of calcium salts, mainly calcium phosphate. Now this is the part of the matrix. This is the inorganic part of the matrix which gives the bone great hardness, but on its own would be brittle and prone to shattering if this inorganic part is not present in the bony matrix. The remaining third is the organic material called the osteoid. So the matrix, it consists of the organic part and the inorganic part. So this inorganic part, it gives hardness to the bone, while the organic part, which is also known as the osteoid, it is composed mainly of the collagen fibers and the mucopolysaccharides and non-collagenous proteins. Collagen is very strong, and it gives bone slight flexibility. The cellular component of the bone contributes less than 2% of the bone mass, and they include the osteoprogenitor cells, osteoblast, osteocytes, and osteoclast. So we will do them in the later slides. Now, before going to the bony structure, we will see that the bone, the what is the structure of the bone, microscopic structure of the bone. So, bony tissue, it is composed of two types of uh, bony tissue, that is the compact bone or the cortical bone and the spongy bone, or it is also known as the cancellous trabecular bone. Now the compact bone make up almost about 80% of the body bone mass. It is made up of large number of parallel tube shaped units called osteon Haversian system. Now we will discuss them in the later slide. And the osteon, they tend to be aligned the same way that force is applied to the bone. So for example, in the femur, the thigh bone, they run from one epiphysis to the other. This gives the bone the great strength. Now you can see here, this is the cortical bone, which is composed of the compact bone, and this lies outside the in the outer part of the bone, while the spongy bone, it forms a sponge like meshwork consisting of trabeculae, and it is lying in the middle part. Now, to the naked eye, spongy bone looks like a honeycomb. So you can see here, the spongy bone is looking like a honeycomb, and these meshwork of honeycomb are occupied by the marrow and blood vessels. So the general structure of the long bone. Now they have a diaphysis or a shaft. Here you can see this is the diaphysis or shaft of the long bone. Then the ends, which are known as the epiphysis. Extremities or ends, which are known as the epiphysis. The diaphysis is composed of compact bone with a central medullary canal containing the fatty yellow bone marrow. Here you can see the this is the long bone, and the shaft you can see here is composed of the compact bone and a cavity which is known as the medullary cavity. Now inside this medullary cavity or the central medullary canal lie the bone marrow, which in adult is the fatty yellow bone marrow, which is converted into fat. So no active bone marrow is present in the shaft of the adult long bone. The epiphysis consists of outer covering of compact bone. Here you can see the outer covering of the compact bone. This is the end or the epiphysis of the bone, and it consists of the outer covering of the compact bone and with spongy bone lying inside. So here you can see the spongy bone lying inside. The diaphysis and epiphysis are separate by epiphyseal cartilage. So this is the epiphyseal cartilage or the growth plate, which ossify when the growth is complete. And this is separating the diaphysis and the epiphysis. Now thickening of the bone occurs by the deposition of new bony tissue under the periosteum. So what is periosteum? We will see in the next slide. Okay, so before periosteum, the bone cavities, the marrow cavity and the spaces in the spongy bone contain the bone marrow, and red marrow is the active bone marrow, which is restricted to the spaces of spongy bone in the adult, and yellow marrow, it consists of fat cells. They can revert to red marrow under extreme blood loss. Now, periosteum, long bones are almost completely covered by a vascular membrane, the periosteum, except at the ends where except at the upper parts of the ends which take part in the articulation of the joint. They are covered by the articular cartilage. Except that part, all of the bone, outer surface of the bone, is covered by a vascular membrane, which is known as the periosteum. Now this periosteum has got two layers. The outer layer is tough and fibrous and protects the bone underneath. The inner layer contains the osteoprogenitor cells, which convert into osteoblasts, and then the osteoblast, after laying down the bone matrix, they convert into osteocytes, the cell responsible for bone production and breakdown, that is the osteoclast, are also present here, and they are important in repair and remodeling of the bone. Periosteum covers the whole bone, as I have told you, except within the joint cavities where the articular surfaces are present, and this allows attachments of the tendons and is continuous with the joint capsule. Hyaline cartilage replaces periosteum on the bone surfaces that form the joint. This I have told you. I have already told you. Now, what is endosteum? So, as I have told you that at outer surface, the bone is covered by periosteum, while the inner surface, which is lining the medullary cavity, there is another membrane which is known as endosteum. So, thin layer. This is a thin layer of connective tissue containing the osteoprogenitor cells. Endosteum. Of the and nerve supply of the long bone. So blood supply to the shaft of the long bone is derived from one or more nutrient arteries, and the epiphyseal arteries have their own blood supply. And although in the mature bone, the capillary network arising from the two are heavily interconnected, the in the immature bone, that is the bone of the young children, in which there is growth plate, these arteries, they do not communicate. The zone between the diaphysis and the epiphysis near the uh, epiphyseal cartilage it is known as the metaphysis, and certain arteries they also supply these the area of metaphysis, and these are the end arteries. Now the periosteum also contain the blood vessels which are derived from the neighboring arteries, and they supply the cortex, outer part of the cortex also, periosteum and the outer part of cortex also, while the nutrient artery which supplies the this diaphysis mainly, it goes inside through a larger foramen, and it supplies the it goes inside the medullary cavity, divides into ascending and descending branches, and then they in the adult they anastomose with the epiphyseal arteries, and they also supply the cortex of the part of the inner part of the cortex of the shaft also. So regarding the nerve supply of the long bone, the nerves of the majority of nerves in the bones are found along the blood vessels, and bones both sensory and autonomic fibers have been demonstrated in the vessels of the periosteum, Volkmann's canal, bone marrow, osteochondral junction of the growth plate, and the attachment of the synovial membrane. So there are sensory fibers, and of course when the bone is broken there is a lot of pain. So structure of the short bone or irregular flat bone. Now the thin plate of periosteum, they consist of thin plate of periosteum covered by compact bone on the outside, and there is no diaphysis or epiphysis, and they have inside the spongy bone, which also contains the red bone marrow. Now the periosteum enclose these bones except the inner layer of the cranial bones, where it is replaced by the dura mater. Now the microscopic structure of the bones. Now, as I have told you, the bone is strong and durable type of connective tissue, and its major constituent, that is 65%, is a mixture of calcium salts, mainly the calcium phosphate. This organic matrix gives the bone the great hardness, but on its own, it would be brittle and prone to shattering. So, mineralized matrix is provided in the this type of special connective tissue. Now, the remaining third of the organic material, which is known as osteoid, which is composed of the collagen fibers, and collagen is very strong and gives bone slight flexibility also. The cellular component of the bone constitutes less than 2% of the bone mass, and these include the osteoblasts, which are responsible for the formation of bone, and these later mature into the osteocytes. Now the osteoblast and the chondrocytes, cartilage forming cells, they develop from the same parent fibrous tissue, and osteoclasts break down bone, and they are large multinucleated cells, and they they are made up of fusion of up to 20 monocytes. And a fine balance of osteoblast and osteoclast activity maintains the normal bone structure and function. So the osteoblasts, these are the bone forming cells. They secrete both organic and inorganic component of the bone, and they are present in the deeper layers of the periosteum, in the centers of the ossification of immature bone, that is the growth plate where the bone is forming, and at the end of the diaphysis adjacent to the epiphyseal cartilages of the long bones, and at a site of fracture. Osteocytes, these are the mature osteoblasts, and with the development of bone, the osteoblasts they become trapped within the newly formed bone. So here you can see the osteoblast lying in this lacunae. They become trapped by the surrounding newly formed bone. Then they stop forming the bony matrix and they are known as the osteocytes. They lie in a space called lacunae and they monitor and maintain bony tissue, and they are nourished by tissue fluid through the canaliculi. So these are the canaliculi which are communicating with the Haversian canals and with the other lacunae. Osteoclasts, their function is resorption of bone to maintain the optimum shape, and they are the macrophages of the bone, and they are present under the periosteum and around the walls of the medullary canal. The compact bone or the cortical bone, it makes up about 80% of the body bone mass, and it is made up of large number of parallel tube shaped units called osteon. So you can see here large number of parallel tube shaped units. These are known as osteon. Like here you can see the various straws, we have put them together and they are forming the osteons. Now these osteons or the Haversian system, each of which is made up of a central canal surrounded by a series of expanding rings similar to the growth rings of a tree. So here you can see the series of expanding rings, and this is the Haversian canal in which the blood vessels are lying. Osteons tend to be aligned the same way that the force is applied to the bone. So, for example, in the femur, they run from one epiphysis to another epiphysis, and this gives the bone the great strength. So, you can see the osteon. It consists of the circular units, and in the center there is the central canal or the Haversian canal, and in this canal lies the blood vessels. Now surrounding this central canal and the blood vessels, the nerves and the lymphatics, and each canal is linked with the neighboring canal by tunnels running at a right angle between them called the perforating canals. So here you can see the perforating canals also, and the artery, vein and the nerve running in the Haversian canals. The series of the cylindrical plates of bones arranged around each central canal are called lamellae. Now these are the lamellae. These one, this one, this one. These are the lamellae. Now between the adjacent lamellae of the osteon are strings of little cavities called the lacunae. So these are the lacunae in which lies the osteocytes. Lacunae communicate with each other through a series of tiny channels called the canaliculi, which allow the circulation of interstitial fluid through the bone and the direct contact between the osteocytes, which extend fine process into them. So osteocytes, they lie in here, and the canaliculi arise from this osteus lacunae, and they communicate with each other and with the central canal, as I have shown you in the previous picture. Between the osteons are the interstitial lamellae, the remnants of the older system partially broken down during remodeling or growth of the bone. So this whole is the interstitial lamellae, e while this is the concentric lamellae. Spongy bone. To the naked eye, spongy bone looks like a honeycomb. Microscopic examination reveals a framework formed from trabecula, meaning little beans, which consist of few lamellae and osteocytes interconnected by canaliculi. So here you can see the osteocytes, and they are connected by canaliculi. Between the osteons are the osteocytes are nourished by the interstitial fluid seeping into the bone through the tiny canaliculi. The spaces between the trabeculae contain red bone marrow, and in addition, spongy bone is lighter than the compact bone, reducing the weight of the skeleton. The development of bones or development of bony tissue, called the It is also called the osteogenesis or ossification. And this begins before birth and is not complete until about the 21st year of the life. Now, the long, short and irregular bones they develop in the fetus from rods of cartilage, that is the cartilage models. Now, flat bones they develop from membranous model, and sesamoid bone they develop from the tendon model. During the process of the bone development, the osteoblasts secrete osteoid, which gradually replace the initial model, and then this osteoid is progressively calcified by the action of the osteoblast. And as the bone grows, the osteoblasts they become trapped in the matrix of their own making, and then they become the osteocytes. So what are primary centers of ossification and the secondary centers of ossification? Primary center of ossification is the ossification that starts at the central part of the cartilaginous model, and this occurs normally before birth. And portion of the bone developed from this primary center of ossification is called the diaphysis, while the secondary center of ossification is this appears at the ends of the long bones, and they usually appear after birth, and the portion of the bone developed from these secondary centers are the epiphyses. Now, the process of bone formation, as I have told you, it has got two patterns: intramembranous ossification, which occurs in the flat bones of the skull and mandible, and soft spots that help the fetal skull pass through the birth canal. Later, they become ossified, forming the skull. Now, the endochondral ossification, this occurs by the replacement of bone by the cartilage, replacement of cartilage by the bone. Now, most bones of the body are formed in this way, including the long bone. So, in intramembranous ossification, the center appears in the fibrous connective tissue, which is known as the mesenchyme. So, here you can see the mesenchyme and ossification center. It appears in the fibrous connective tissue, and the osteoblast here you can see they are laying osteoid, and then this osteoid it becomes mineralized, and the osteoblast they mature into osteocytes. Endochondral ossification. In the long bones, the focal points from which the ossification begins are small areas of osteogenic cells known as the centers of the ossification in the cartilaginous model. As I have told you before, the centers of ossification, the primary center of ossification. So this is the primary center of ossification, which begins in the center of the cartilaginous model in the development of long bone. This is accompanied by development of a bone collar at about 8 weeks of gestation. Gestation is the intrauterine life. Later, the blood supply develops, and the bone tissue replaces cartilage as osteoblasts secrete osteoid components in the shaft. So here you can see the initial primary center of ossification, primary center of ossification. Now the blood supply it develops. Here you can see the blood supply, and after the blood supply is established, the bony tissue replaces the cartilage, and osteoblasts they start secreting the osteoid around them, and that's how the bone develops in the shaft. The bone lengthens as ossification continues. Here you can see the bone is lengthening as the ossification is continuous and spreads to the epiphysis. Around birth, secondary centers of ossification develop in the epiphysis, and medullary canal forms when osteoclasts break down the central bony tissue in the middle of the shaft. So here you can see in the middle of the shaft, the central canal is established, and also here the ends are establishing by the secondary centers of ossification. During childhood, long bones continue to lengthen because the epiphyseal plate at each end of the bone, which is made up of the cartilage, continue to produce new cartilages on its diaphyseal surface, that is the surface of the bone facing the shaft of the bone. Now this cartilage is then turned to the bone. As long as the cartilage production matches the rate of ossification, the bone continues to lengthen. At puberty, under the influences of sex hormones, the epiphyseal plate growth slows down and is overtaken by the bone deposition. And once the whole epiphyseal plate is turned to the bone, no further lengthening of the bone is possible. Now again, the revision of the development of the bone, the primary center of ossification is appearing in the center of the cartilaginous model, and then the bone is also laid down at the outer sides of the cartilaginous model. Blood supply is established, and this goes inside, and along with the blood supply comes the osteoclast, which destroys the bone in the center and forms the medullary canal. And also the bone formation process of bone formation continues, and the osteoblast the they lay their osteoid matrix around them, and this is later on mineralized, and then the osteoblast they become trapped in them. Okay, and then the growth of the bone continues towards the epiphysis. The bone lengthens, and here in the after birth, in the epiphysis, the secondary centers of ossification appears, and bone starts forming here, except and the process of bone formation continues until the cartilage, it remains on the surface, that is in the form of articular cartilage and in the form of epiphyseal plate. Then this epiphyseal plate is used for further growth of the long bones that occurs after birth up till 21 year of life into the adolescence. So thank you. This is all for the general anatomy of the bones.